they have to explain their argument.
There was an article in The Economist today that was talking about Ryan's proposal, and he kind of said, I think what you're articulating. He said, you think about liberalism, and when they talk about poverty, they have an answer. This is how we're going to solve it now. And conservatives have a process of how they're going to fix it. And that is a hard thing to always articulate.
Well, conservatives have their work cut out through no fault of their own. Now, obviously, conservatives tend to be poor at messaging too, but it is a much more difficult philosophy to sell. Explaining that you're going to take money from one person and give it to another is extraordinarily simple. It doesn't really require any historical or political knowledge. Right. But saying, no, we're going to stay out of the market because eventually, by a process that I can't quite explain, it will give you a job that I don't know where it's going to be, I don't know who's going to give it to you, and that's going to work. Although historically true, it's much more difficult to convey. And this is where I think conservatives have to get a little smarter. And you mentioned Paul Ryan's change in focus, is that I believe very strongly that one of the big problems with welfare is it destroys people's lives. But that's very difficult to sell, because you go up to somebody and you say, these awful people are going to give you stuff, get you addicted to it, and then you're not going to be productive. That's difficult to convince them. What isn't difficult to convince people of is they really shouldn't be sending you to prison for the rest of your life for minor transgressions.
And you should be able to get into a small business without undue and unnecessary regulation. And there are a number of things here. You should be able to choose where your child goes to school. These are policies that I think that conservatives and Republicans have to stay on, because if nothing else, one, we all agree it's the right thing for them to do, but also it forces the sort of reactionary left to expose itself. Say, on prison reform, for example, it's like, oh, don't listen to Paul Ryan. Why? He's proposing prison sentencing reform, and that disproportionately affects minority communities. That is a good-intentioned effort to help people and be more just in our approach. So, look, it's a long-term project, and trying to convert people takes a lot of effort, and some will never be converted, but doesn't mean that we can't try.